Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, November 3rd, and a special board meeting is called to order. We are missing one board member today. Director Avila could not make it. Everyone else is present. I'll now move to our land acknowledgement. We are gathered today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day, and we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous. Next, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not think there are any agenda modifications. And so next we'll move to our job today, which is to do interviews for the board vacancy for Zone 6. We're going to interview candidates to fill the Zone 6 vacancy. And we plan to appoint the new director, if all goes according to our plan, by November 8th at that board meeting. So we have 10 candidates. 7 of them, or I think maybe 8 now, are joining by Zoom to do a video interview, and then 2 or 3 who've submitted videos since they had scheduling conflicts and there wasn't a lot of lead time. So we completely understand having scheduling conflicts when we're scheduling so quickly. So I want to welcome all of our candidates. We have Clifford Bob Bemrose, Rebecca Ramirez, Anthony Rosiles, Stephanie Russell, Robert Salazar, Mark Lidke, and Sue Myers, who, and Julianne Jackson, who will all be interviewing via Zoom today. And the other 2 video submissions are Thais Brando-Roddick and Ross Zeismer are the individuals who submitted videos. So with that, it is 12:05, and our first candidate is Clifford. I believe he goes by Bob Bemrose. And we have 4 prepared questions that were given to all the candidates in advance. So is Bob available? Oh, he's joining now. I can see that on the Zoom screen. Hi, Bob. Are you there?
I'm here.
Great. Are you able to turn your video on?
Yeah, hold on a second. Sorry, it's been a while since I've been on. No worries. There we go.
There you are. Great. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So hopefully you received the questions in advance.
I did.
Okay, great. The first question is, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Well, yeah, for me, I think the 2 main ones is we've got a superintendent to hire, and to steal from a question down below. It's really important to find somebody that can help the kids thrive and the districts thrive. So that'd be 1. 2 is passing a passing a budget that makes sense, that again helps the kids thrive and the district thrive and looks to the future. And then for the third one, I don't really have a third one. I'm not coming into this with any sort of specific agenda. I'm just trying to come into this and learn and be curious and ask the right questions and just help steward things along. And as I learn, then maybe I'll have a more of an agenda and something I'm trying to specifically accomplish. But at this point, it's just to come in and learn and be curious and help make sure that we're doing the right thing for our kids.
Great, thank you. The second question is share how you'll contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience so that we're able as collectively as a board to provide strong governance.
Sure. I think looking at my experience, especially at the position I'm in now, it's all about collaboration, and I'm on a lot of different teams, or it's not really boards, but committees and things of that nature. As right now, I'm on one where twice a week we get together and we look at changes going into the system, into the computer system. And so it's, kind of one of, from my perspective, I'm always asking questions about how this is going to affect the customers, and things like that. So I'm already, helping steward there. I'm part of the leadership team for the service desk, being an analyst, kind of the right hand person to my boss. So I'm always leading meetings and being part of meetings and part of the discussion. I'm part of a knowledge review team. It's looking at the best way to get knowledge into our system. So we're working on putting together policies. Making sure the desk's prepared for changes, which in turn means making sure our customers are prepared for changes too, trying to prevent calls and things of that nature. And I think what makes me successful, is I'm in these group kind of settings. I'm pretty flexible. I'm always looking for a way to where I can contribute to this, whether that's jumping in and being more of a leader, jumping in and being more of a contributor, just providing or giving ideas. I'm not a person that needs to fill a specific role. I'm pretty good at being kind of a glue type person and plug and play.
Great, thank you. The third question is using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education?
Yeah, when I think of data, I like to think of this concept from this book Upstream, by Dan Heath, which is really looking at getting at the root of the problems and not solving stuff downstream. But that concept is you want to make sure that you don't lose your mission in the metrics. And so I believe in data, and it's this great tool, but it's a tool. It's not the end all be all. I'm thinking a good example of this would be like graduation rates, right? It's a really important number, but you can't just go to that, because if you do that, then you're going to miss your goal of making sure students thrive. I mean, it's a great number to figure out, hey, where are we really failing our students? But it's not a good number to figure out, like, all right, who's going to be done with the school and is going to thrive out in the community, or who's thriving now or not. So it's just kind of the example where my thought is. And I think it's also a deal where with numbers, it should be, you should look at them and be curious about stuff. Like, okay, why is this number this case? And then with policy, I think it's also really important that you look at the numbers and then be empathetic. Like I think an example is my wife's part of the Clear Lake PTA, and they were having a discussion about something, and it came out when we were discussing things that there's a homeless population there within Clear Lake, which I had no idea about, and that really made me pause and be like, oh, I've got to stop and think differently about how I think of how things should be done at the school, because there's the whole population that I didn't even realize was there. And I think that's where numbers are really important, is you can get a good idea as far as the demographics and the test scores. And then you can use that to kind of put together what different students look like, and then from there you can really dive in and try to understand where these students, where they're coming from, and then you can use that to help you guide your policy.
Great. Thank you. The final question, we have about 2 minutes. How will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help our children have a thriving life trajectory?
Yeah, so when I think about building community and authenticity, I kind of go back in time to when I was in college and was on resident life staff for 2 years. And a lot of that was like building communities in dorms and residence halls. And one of the things that really has stuck with me throughout is just this idea of being approachable. And then, some of that stuff was just being there, either like your door open or like in common areas and stuff. But it was also more than that. It was also like how you interacted with folks, like, always being friendly, always, listening to them, never making it seem like they were wasting your time or anything, but just being curious and engaged. And I think, when you're talking about building community as a board and welcoming people in, it's really about, when you're talking to folks, when you're reaching out to folks, making sure that you're giving off, not giving off, that you truly are like interested in what they're saying and what they have to say, and that they know that, okay, even if I don't agree with them or whatever, I'm still going to listen to what they have to say and take that into consideration as we're working through policies and budgets and hiring a superintendent.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, for applying. We really appreciate you engaging. And it was really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bob. Bye. Okay, next we'll pull up Rebecca Ramirez.
Okay.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Are you able to turn your camera on?
I am working on it. I know last time I used this Zoom, it was giving me issues with it.
No worries.
Cannot start video. Failed to start the video. Please select another video. Doesn't let. Okay, so I push on my start the video and it has a pop-up notification. Failed to start the video camera. Please select another video camera and settings.
That's okay. We can, it's not completely necessary.
I've met with you before, Ashley. I don't think I've met with the other board members. Okay, it's not gonna let me.
I just want you to have your time slot to answer the question. So no worries.
Correct.
Forward. So I'm going to turn it over now to Director Hinojos Pressy to ask the questions. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
So our first question is, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Okay, so this is very interesting because I know only so much of it, and I would say that it's the academic performance for, I don't know if it improve physical, mental, social health and in our students and staff. It's what I would say. There's only, again, so much and I wish I could see my face. Yeah, that would be my response.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is, share how you will contribute as a member of the board so we are able to provide strong governance.
Well, I would contribute with my time, my knowledge, if I have, if it comes to what the subject is and whatnot. I would say mainly time. Time is one thing that not a lot of people have the luxury to provide, and I'm in a place where that's something that I'm willing to do, is to put the time and effort to know and collect data um, to be able to bring to the table.
Thank you. Yeah, time is definitely scarce these days.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so next question. Using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education?
Okay, so the mitigates biases. I was going to ask you, can you help me understand that question? Simplify it for me a little bit. I'm sorry for my verbiage is not very widened and
no worries. So, as a policy governance board, the school board's responsibility is to establish policies that we're hoping would support all our students on their safety, their well-being, their high quality education. And we have a vast array of different data points that we can reference to. So if there was policies that you think that need to be implemented, how would you use data, or what kind of data do you think you would need to be able to establish policies that keep the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high quality education?
I see where okay, correct. So one is listening to all parties, not just one party, being flexible and open-minded. Coming in with open-minded is one thing that I believe not nowadays it's hard for people to be open-minded, considering all the time, the times that we're facing, and collecting data and research more than anything. Surveys and whatnot is definitely a biggie for me. Is to implement a policy, it takes a lot of research than just he said, she said. And so I believe research is definitely one that I'm really good at researching and again, not being biased. I think another thing that helps with that is to not be part of any political party in any way that would be put that would jeopardize your open mind, because then you're leaning more towards one side than you are the other, and it's kind of hard when it's to implement any policy if you're biased.
Thank you for that. And our last question is, how will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory?
I would really say communication is definitely one. I believe that lack of communication with parents and staff is very popular nowadays. I think that I would work very hard in the communication in all diverse languages, not just one or two or three, but looking at how many all the languages that I think we have, I don't know, like 90 something or 70 something languages. So I think that not a lot of parents are getting the info, and teachers So I would definitely work very, very hard to engage all families, not just one. But not just that, but making sure that the family got the notices, making sure that families are aware, and news are getting to them versus not. A lot of us parents don't receive news for lack of one thing or lack of the other, or either technology and paper documentation is definitely a biggie also. That I would definitely, I emphasize that a lot. Communication, and making, and not just communication, because communication works both ways. Communicate, I can send a letter, but did the parent receive the letter? Did the parent or the teachers get to see that? How do we know they got to see that? We don't know. We're just, oh, well, I sent the letter or I posted it on social media. Well, how do you know they're reading it? How do you know the news or whatever information we're trying to provide is actually, they're seeing it and reading it and know that it's there?
Thank you. Having communication both ways is absolutely important. I think that's what we've got for you in terms of questions for today, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Did I pass my test? I'm just kidding. This is awesome. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sorry for my camera. Now, I really wish it worked. I wanted you to see my face, my happy face. Well, you guys have a beautiful rest of your day.
Your happy voice. So
oh, my happy voice. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to interview me, and more than anything, taking time out of your day to meet with me. And I really do appreciate it a lot. Again, lack of time is, we don't have that luxury nowadays for whatever reason. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and God bless you guys.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, next up we have Anthony Rosiles. I see he's joined. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here today.
I'm going to turn it over to our second vice chair, Guzman Ortiz, to do the questions.
All right.
Welcome, Anthony. Pleasure to have you. Let's go ahead and get this started. So first question, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Thank you. Thank you for the question and the opportunity to speak with you. I've been pleased to be on the district student investment account advisory team over the last few years and learned much about the district. And when I thought about this question, I really thought about the work of the board getting on track. So I have an analogy I'm using related to a train. So I think the first thing that the board should really be thinking about in the next year or so is really revisiting its strategic plan and reaffirming the district goals to first determine if they are really what we are committed to, or if they need some adjustment. And in my train analogy, I say this because we can only get the board back on track if we first really know the destination. And confirming our commitment to those goals is how we know what that destination is. The second thing I think that the board should consider doing is to examine its own values and norms for how it communicates and collaborates internally to the board and also at the superintendent and the community. We must remember that the civility of an organization can only be as bountiful as that amongst its leadership. And I think right now that is something that it has been on the mind of a lot of people in the community about how well the board is working together, and that's an important piece. And again, with my train analogy, this is now how we can keep the board from veering off the track. So now with these first 2 goals, we're getting on the track. Now we're going to make sure we're not going to veer off the track. And then the third thing I think in this coming year that the board will really have an important role to play is in its most important decision to ensure that its leadership is knowledgeable, transparent, maintains its integrity, and is accountable. To hire a superintendent with these qualities, the board must be able to fully understand and appreciate the context and experiences of the community members, our students, our employees, and we should really devote a quality amount of time to developing the values and experience that we expect in its next superintendent. So to finish my train analogy, this is how we make sure then that the train now has an engineer that is fully prepared to lead this particular train. A TriMet train driver and a diesel locomotive driver are two different types of engineers. And in order to make sure that Salem-Keizer has the right superintendent on board, really is about determining what's the right engineer for this school district. And then I think when we can do that, we make sure these components will help us to be able to complete the journey of student success. We can't afford to go off track, and I think these steps will help ensure that the students are safe, consistent, and that they do have that journey towards student achievement.
Thank you. Trying to take notes here as well. Second question, share how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership and board experience, so we are able to provide strong governance.
Thank you. As a previous superintendent and the current state agency officer responsible for the development, licensure, and professional practices of all of Oregon's educators, I've had the opportunity to support boards of diverse interests and values through both the 2009 recession, the Great Recession as they call it, and through COVID. As a member of these various diversity committees and boards, I've also had the opportunity to develop policy and work with leaders toward common goals. I've been blessed in many respects to experience the wonderful results as well as some of the heartache of leading for educational equity in very challenging times. I believe I can bring to the board experience as an educator, starting as a substitute teacher on an emergency license all the way through a superintendent, as a higher education and state agency leader, and experience preparing teachers and administrators to serve in increasingly diverse schools. What these experiences have taught me is an intricate balance that we have to play between policy leadership and administration, between equity and disparity, and also between stewardship and management, because each of those factors are critically important to consider when we are leading diverse schools during challenging times. So I believe I contribute in that way. And lastly, I've been a leader in diverse political environments and communities, and have listened to learn to listen to the hopes and the desires and dreams, challenges of the different voices, and help find ways to bring these voices together toward common goals. Here in Oregon, I've worked in everywhere from Beaverton to Salem into Klamath Falls. And if you know about all those different areas, the values and community norms are different in all of those areas. And one of the things I've been able to do sometimes through the bumps in the road as well, is learn how to navigate those voices and to be able to understand and get a perspective for those different values that all of our families bring to school. So, and as a Latino and first in my family to attend college, I also bring the experience in school of all those before me, my parents who had their challenges, and my brothers and my own kids. One of my kids who had worked for a year or two as a paraprofessional in the school district. So I believe I can bring all those experiences to the board.
Thank you. Using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our student safety, well-being, and high quality education?
All right, thank you. Well, data, one of the things data can do is help us understand the context of the work we're doing, as well as measuring our progress towards goals. And I think that's an important piece to remember, is that it helps us understand the baseline of where we're at currently. It's important, therefore, to make sure that we first understand what the data is. What is the definition of what it is that the data is telling us? Because data can mean a lot of different things, and it can mean a lot of different things in different contexts. So it's important we understand that. We then have to make sure that we're thinking about what measurements are truly going to indicate whether our goals are being met. There are a lot of ideas out there, for instance, on what student safety means. And there's a lot of different ways and ideas on how to measure it. So what we must first agree is upon how do we define that student safety, and only when we really get a good handle about what it means can we then think about what's the best data to have to be able to measure it, and then we can hold ourselves accountable to that data. As policy leaders, well, one of the things that I think we should always do is think about how we critique the data. to understand how it was developed, but also what were the assumptions behind it, who was included in the data, and just as importantly, whose voices are not included. It's the only way we make sure that the measurements that we're using that define success are really equitable and truly indicate our goal achievement. The area of, in my experience, the area of discipline, student and school discipline data, that's an area where this factor is very, very important to understand the voices that are included and whose voices are not included. And lastly, when reviewing the data on safety and well-being, we must also not just consider the quantitative data, because we'll get data about like how students do they feel safe, do they feel welcome, do they feel included within the school environment. But we also must think a little and study a little bit about the voices that are behind the data. Health and well-being are at the same time a community data point, but it's also a very individual feeling and understanding. So for instance, if 95% of our students report feeling safe, that might look like a good indicator, but it does not mean very much if the other 5% have experienced such a climate that there's frequent harassment that is often from a similar manner or from a similar source. You can see that that's a definite data point that if we didn't have that voice to, it would be hard for us to consider really what things we need to do to better address that safety, so that way each student can have that safe learning environment. So we always have to think about looking what's behind the number.
Thank you. And we have 1 more minute, sorry, for the last question. How will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory?
Yeah, in short, empathic listening is really something that I think we should each keep in our mind all the time. Yes, each board member is going to have values and ideas that they bring to the table, and we shouldn't expect that leadership decisions will always be made from a blank slate. That just doesn't happen. However, I think the responsibility of each board member is to make an informed decision. If I know my vote before a meeting and I'm not seeking a contrary view or open to putting myself in the place of someone that has a different view, I'm really not making an informed decision. So I think empathic listening, which includes the authentic reflection of what others are saying and feeling, requires us to go to where the people are. It's not just about them coming to us. To seek the uncomfortable and contrary position and keeping the mindset to help us ensure that we're not only listening to the voices that confirm the things we say or that are consistent, but it's about seeking to understand. And it's no more true than I think how the board also communicates amongst themselves and with its district leaders, employees, and families.
Sorry to cut you off, Anthony, but
that's it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we really appreciate your interest and for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next, we have Stephanie Russell. Is Stephanie on? I'm not seeing Stephanie yet.
Stephanie's on. Looks like they're connecting to audio.
Oh, there we go. I see. Okay. Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear us? Stephanie, can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us. Can you hear us, Stephanie? Okay, well,
okay, I got you.
Oh, you got me? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Good.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes. We have 10-minute slots, but we're trying to get the 4 questions in 8 minutes, which is a lot.
No worries.
So we'll just kick it off really quickly here. Given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Well, so I went through the goals that is out for 2022 and 23, and I kind of summarized that what I feel like I have to serve the community and this team of people is one thing that supports all of the goals. And although I have a really strong background in business, I've always been self-employed, grew up in a family of, we owned our businesses, and I have strong financial background. Really more my passion that I'm thinking that I want to bring to the table in serving the community is more of supporting like your equitable student outcomes, where it says the behavioral and social emotional skills needed to thrive. That is where my experience has been really more of a long-term help than just addressing the chaos that comes from issues that life has. And so I have experienced in raising a family and running my businesses, doing the same thing. I did kind of the same thing for my children as I did my businesses, where I set short-term goals, long-term goals, and I measured them. And being more appropriate to a personal level compared to a business level, the principles are the same. And so it's where I've seen the biggest impact in long-term stability has been in dealing with those emotional needs that support people, because healthy people make healthy decisions. And that's where I would like to focus on in, if I was a part of this team of people. And I'm imagining, because, well, first of all, I've never even interviewed for a position or a job because I've always been self-employed. But what I'm imagining the way I run my businesses is I love a team of people that think differently. Different strengths and different people create amazing results, especially when they work together in honoring each other in that. And I feel like I have the experience to support all the different issues and the different goals that have been laid out. But there does seem to be an underlining support that could go and support each one of these goals. And that's what I would really like to be a part of, if there is room for that in serving our community.
Thank you. So question 2 is share how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience so we are able to provide strong governance.
Yeah, so that is kind of meshes together what I've kind of already stated, where I would have these short-term and long-term goals that were measured weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. And it does take a strategic plan, but it's easily done once a plan is in place to implement it and to reward whatever is appropriate in the, the culture of what you're dealing with. Obviously, I would reward my children different than I rewarded my business people, but it's the same principle. And so that's what to be specific, I would want to come up with strategic ways to measure behavior, whether you call it, and also to be specific on that, it's not about looking at bad behavior. I've never done that. I've always looked at the good behavior. So I find the good behavior and I measure it and I reward it. And that shows up in a lot of different ways. And I also, my experience with foster care children that are at high risk, like drug babies and things like that, those are things that they they taught that as well. I was already implementing it into my business and family, but I mean, those children that are huge at risk, they do the same thing. They say, focus on the good. Give them their meds, yes. Take them to their psychiatrist. Focus on their good. And I believe that with children, it's a bottom, if the strategic plan would include helping them, build their self-esteem. self-esteem is the cornerstone for being able to go out and be productive in in their academics and their social. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. And that's where the reward system kind of comes into play, where when people feel good about themselves and they get acknowledged for their good, then they do well.
Great, thank you. The third question is, using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high quality education?
Yes, I believe that that coming up with a plan, I mean, just like you guys have done already with all your other goals, where you have your theory of action, you have the follow-up of who's going to do what, being very specific on who's responsible for what puzzle in this, what piece of puzzle in this, and that's where I would come up with a very specific plan, of course, not on my own, but, with a team of people, come up with a specific plan, and it's measured. It's specifically, and, it's flexible, but my experience is weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, because people do what is being observed. They do the follow through because they know. And it's rewarding.
Great. And the last question is, how will sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with educators and staff to help all children have a thriving life trajectory?
Yes, that is a very exciting and rewarding thing to get involved with, to not just look specifically at our school district as perhaps a business, but it is a community. It is just not about how we're spending the dollars and what curriculum we're going to take on, or what all of that, because it's easy to get involved with the monster and forget about the people who really make it up, and that is the families. Families need to be supported, as well as the children and the students and the teachers. They all need to be supported. And I think that engaging, coming up with some kind of strategic plan, whether you call it a merit system or whatever, but it involves where rewards are not only experienced by the students and the teachers, but the families, and that draws people in and makes them feel like a team to be able to, change behaviors and change outcomes that, we're all wanting to have a community that's thriving, because, our students are important. They're the ones that are going to rule the roost when we're in a rocking chair. I'm not too far from that.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. We really appreciate your interest in this position. It was nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Next, we have Robert Salazar. Hi, can you hear us? Bob, I see Bob. Or Robert, whichever you prefer. Mr. Salazar, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mr. Salazar? Are you there? Okay, it seems like Mr. Salazar is having some technical issues. Maybe we could swap people. Is Mr. Lipke queued up? And we can come back.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Okay, good.
Great.
Hi.
Are you able to turn your camera on? It's okay if not, but we'd love to see you.
Need to turn the camera on.
Are you?
Hi.
There you go. Okay, now you can see me
Yeah, how are you?
and hear me.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
We're going to go through the 4 questions. We have about 8 minutes to do so. I'm going to turn it over to our first vice chair, Maria Hinojos-Presi, to ask the questions. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. The first question is, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
You know, as I was thinking about that, and also discussions that I've had with teachers and that I've worked with in the district, as well as with parents and students, is that first of all, assuming student safety by dealing with consistent discipline and behavior. And then this will help the teachers, I think, you know, in creating an atmosphere of safety for the students. And it will also make them become less dependent upon substitutes. When they get substitutes in, of course, your substitutes have less leverage on a daily basis than what your teachers will. And so that makes it, creates for more disruption or inconsistency with the staff and teachers. And also, I think the other thing, then they would be able to, counselors would have more time and opportunity to deal with students who are marginal students and need behavior issues to develop. Also, I think the training of teachers and assistants to develop a subset of skills that would help them deal with students who come from a diverse community. So often we have those students and they're going to come with different issues. And then if they could have those strategies that have been successful in targeting the needs of those marginal students, it would help the district as well as the school buildings. And then addressing the gap in reading and math. The pandemic really set us back across the nation. This isn't particular to Salem-Keizer or Oregon, but throughout the nation. And as with this came a wider gap in the diversity of students that we encounter. And so with that, we would need to look at those strategies, help the teachers come with a subset of skills that can address those issues. I know that one of the things when I came from Woodburn, I came from a school district that was bilingual or trilingual, actually, because we had the Russian population also. And I felt, well, that was, that was pretty unique new training. But when I came to, I was principal at Washington Elementary. there were at least 12 different languages, and I felt the need to really, depend on those teachers to have that skills. We didn't have enough systems for every language that was being addressed in the schools. So I thought the other teachers who could relate to the students and would make those issues of dealing with community were very important. So those are things I think that we would have to have a collaboration with the community in order to meet the needs of those students.
Thank you. The second question is if you could share with us how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership report experience previously, so we are able to provide strong governance.
Okay, I have 45 years of experience as a teacher, counselor, middle school, vice principal, and a elementary principal. Besides that, I was in the migrant summer school programs. I was a teacher for 7 years and a director for 7 years. And this was in Marion County. And that was primarily 8-week programs that were ran through Willamette ESD. I was also the director and coordinator of alternative education at Oregon Department of Education. And that included GED, alternative programs, and the testing of those programs. So it was a very enlightening program for me, because it determined what programs were successful with alternative ed and those which were just shooting kids into programs that weren't. And it was an issue of where there was dollars were more important than in some cases than the development of the students and how we helping them be successful. And that was also a coordination of students who also deal with community colleges and how they coordinated and collaborated in order to make students successful. So that was a good experience for me, and I learned a lot just from those programs, other programs across the state. Also, I was when I was in Salem-Keizer, for my 4 years, I was on several committees. At that time, we didn't have as many diverse diversity of administrators. And so as a consequence, I was asked to be on almost every committee that came up that was addressing diversity issues or hiring of administrators in the district. Also, I was when I worked with HR for 1 year, they asked me to work with them. And that was working with staff and hiring teachers and also recruiting teachers and administrators when there was an elementary principals or middle school principals.
Thank you. It's a lot of experience. And not to try and rush you, we do have like a very short window of time. We've got about one or 2 minutes left, and I do have 2 more questions. So the next question is, using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education?
Okay, first of all, we would want to identify the data that is being presented, and then to make sure that it's pertinent to the district goals. And with that, that would help to empower members of the community. And I think the thing is, the strongest idea is an example of when I was, again, at Woodburn, had a gang task force committee, and brought in community, brought in police, brought in churches, brought in all the members of that community to collaborate on that. And then there was a task force that was developed and eliminated almost the gang situation that we had at Woodburn. And although when I left, they let that program go. And of course, the elements were still there and the gang issues came back.
Thank you. I think this ties into the next question of how will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory?
Yes, and I'm glad it does go right into that. First of all, I think as a leader, listen for meaning when they're being presented, for meaning and understanding. And then cultivate a culture of trust, leadership, and a community of leaders. Stay current with the status of the educational jobs and curriculum needed to support those jobs. Also be a merchant of hope. I think supporting the people that are coming, the most powerful words you can use is, "I need your help." And with that, I think that they'll be, empowered, and they'll be willing to work with you in a better respect. And then also working with staff. I think building a capacity for sharing. I think we do that, and it validates the teachers or teams. And so, and then the other thing that you'd have to worry thinking about is dealing with complaints. And dealing with complaints, listen and practice listening. 1 or 2 questions validates the complainer. Summarize the complaints by points. Ask them to,
Mr.
again, invest. Okay.
I'm sorry. I know we have such a short time frame with everyone on their lunches, but
I
thank you so
understand.
much. I think you definitely answered the question. So thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Take care.
Mhm.
Okay, next we have Mr. Lipke. Mark, I can see that you've joined. Can you hear us? And are you
Yes,
okay,
yes, I can.
able-
Oh
are you-
my camera is not cooperating though. Hold on, I
That's-
got it. Whoops,
We saw you briefly there.
there I am. I'm sorry for that, you guys.
Okay.
Good to
Nope.
see you. I wish we were in person, but hey, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, easier to get everyone together on their lunch this way. So we're going to jump right in. I have Second Vice Chair Karina Guzman Ortiz going to ask you the questions, okay?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Licky. First question, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Okay. Hey, I'll go by my notes if you don't mind. I barely remember what I had for breakfast, so I'll do us all a favor. So number one, I had in no particular order, make the right hire for the new superintendent. So as a member of the board, what I would be looking for is a strong leader, but one who's not heavy-handed, someone who can inspire, encourage, and improve the climate for the students, staff, the parents, the community, all the stakeholders in the Salem School District. I would look for someone with a commitment to excellence for all stakeholders. So we'd have high expectations for the new superintendent and high expectations for everyone involved and connected with the school. Another important thing I would look at also is I had some experience with this in my teaching job in Woodburn would be an expert at differentiating instruction, because I think that's a really good way to help kids catch up. And that kind of leads me to the second point or goal that I would have, and that would be to catch up with COVID and other learning gaps. And I know that's a problem, not just in Salem-Keizer, it really is nationwide also. And I know that we do all types of testing, but what good is that if we don't do anything with the information? I just had a conference with about one of my granddaughters this last week, and it's like, okay, she's behind in this area, but I don't really have time to stop and reteach students on that. So what I would focus on there is getting some mini lessons, some small groups, some one-on-one opportunities. So we have the data, but we got to use that data to actually help the kids improve and get where we want them to be. And then the last one, my third goal, would be to make classrooms and schools learner-friendly. So I have 30 years public middle school teaching experience, Woodburn School District, in a diverse, generally low-income school. I was 30 years at the same school, so I'm a very loyal person in that sense. And those kids had a wide range of abilities, needs, and personalities. And so, I know what needs to be done. If we don't let that happen in the classroom, we won't accomplish the learning goals that we want there. So I think that answers that question. I was just going to add, though, but if we don't have the right learning environment in the classrooms and schools, we can have all the meetings and the staff trainings that we want, but they won't do any good. Okay, so that's mine for number one. If I go too fast, you guys.
No, thank you. No, you're fine. It was me.
Cool.
I forgot I was asking the questions, to be honest.
Okay.
I was like, I'm taking notes. All right, second question. Share how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience, so we are able to provide strong governance.
Okay. So in my 30 years teaching, I've been in so many leadership and committee groups. I can't remember them all, to be honest, but I did put them on my resume. You guys can look over, but I will highlight some of those. One, I was multiple times a team leader. And with that, we worked on curriculum, behavior issues, implementing PBIS, and just kind of generally running smoothly and communicating with the administration. I was on the site council, and one of our big focus there was involving family and parents. I served with a student community service group there, and we volunteered at the Aware Food Bank in Woodburn. We would get donations, we'd go over their stock shelves and just be available to help. I also served as a student teacher, supervisor, mentor for college students from Western Oregon, Willamette, Corbin, just helping them develop into professional teachers there. I was also on the Education Specification Committee, and that was kind of cool. Woodburn got really, really crowded, and we built a second middle school. That's Valor Middle School. So they selected me to be in on the design of that, and that's actually worked out really well. I'm proud of that, how that worked. And also some of my leadership, I did coach for a number of years also. So that's question 2 for you.
Thank you so much. Third question, using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our student safety, well-being, and high quality education?
Okay, so I'll answer this the best I understand the question. So I like the part of the question where we do have to use data and facts to drive our decision making. Okay, yelling, fighting, hating, none of that will help us make a good, solid decision there. So we need to be very careful and thorough in collecting that data. We need to get feedback from the students, staff, parents, public, everyone involved in the schools. And then when we get that data, that information, we need to very carefully study it. And again, we're looking at safety, well-being. Are all students learning what they should be? So everyone should agree on those 3 goals, okay? And those should be the critical main focus for any school district. And it's, how to mitigate bias on that. Okay, so on myself, I can personally pledge, I'm not gonna come in with any agenda. I'm gonna give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I generally like people, so I'm not going in looking for a fight. I'm going in looking, what can I do to support the teachers and the staff? What can I do to make learning really good for all the students so they all succeed? So overall, you're setting the policy there, what you want to do, looking at the data, you research best practices, implement that, and then you check and you make sure that it's all working the way it should be. How can we change this? How can we improve this if we need to? Okay.
Thank you.
That's 3.
Thank you. And last one, we're just on the minute here. So how will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory?
I love that question. Thank you. So I think and this didn't come through, I don't think necessarily on the application resume, but my background, my teaching experience, and my diverse family, I think really make me a unique and well-rounded candidate. So we live in Keizer. I have 2 biracial granddaughters who live with my wife and I. I drive them to school every day, okay? Pick them up from school, heavily involved in their education. I know what it's like when, because of their background, their culture, they're having a hard time. I've had that conversation. Grandpa, I don't want to go to school. Someone's made fun of my skin color. They keep trying to touch my hair. I know that. So I get that part. I have 3 Latino grandchildren attending also Salem schools, elementary, middle school. One of them has severe autism. So that pulls me in, and I'm worried about, he's doing great now in school. Shout out to Judson Middle School. They're doing terrific with him. However, what's that going to look like when he's done with school? I'm concerned there. So I guess on that part, I would just say, I'm a very protective grandparent and guardian, probably the most protective grandparent you're ever going to meet. And anyway, I want what's best, not only for my kids who are in the Salem-Keizer schools, but also all the kids who attend. So engaging families, to really truly engage families, it varies with each school. Some schools that's really, really easy, come naturally. The parents, it just kind of set up to where they're better able to volunteer and be involved there. So it doesn't take much effort. There are others where the families honestly would probably prefer a dental appointment than to come into school and work with the schools in any way. So it's
Mr. Ritchie,
yes.
sorry, we are out of time. We're actually
I'm sorry.
But thank you so much. I think you did answer all the questions. I really appreciate your interest, and it's so nice to meet you over Zoom.
Thank you for meeting with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Hopefully
much.
see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, next up we have Sue Myers. I can see Sue, you've joined. Can you hear us? Sue, can you hear us? Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Oh,
There we
you
go.
Yay. Okay, hi. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to jump right in. I'm going to ask the questions, and we have about 8 minutes or so. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Well, first, I think a goal it would be to find the next superintendent and someone who is a strong leader in that regards. I know that there is a search committee that will be looking, so I think that is a priority. And if I can throw a name out there, Sue Ricky Smith, who's currently in Tiger Tualatin. I worked with her here in Salem-Keizer, and she's a strong leader and a servant and very wise and intelligent in all things education. Secondly, I think equity should be a priority. The document BG2 states changes in resource allocation, design, and implementation of policies and programs will be considered in light of equitable outcomes. Equitable meaning dealing fairly with all concerned. I believe the phrase least restrictive environment has been misused, and in my opinion, students who have behavioral or academic needs should not, severe, should not be placed in regular education classrooms. I don't think it's best for them, and I don't think it's best for regular ed or tag kids. It's not equitable for all concerned. So the safety of all students and staff need to be considered, and placing students who continually disrupt the classroom or demand extra attention from the classroom teacher, or who are physically or verbally assaulting other students or staff, that's not equity. And I think we need to consider the equitable outcomes for all students. The third immediate goal for me would be to increase student learning outcomes. Well-managed classrooms produce greater learning gains by students. Fewer disruptions equals more on-task behavior equals greater learning gains. Holding students responsible for their behavior and their learning through consequences, both positive and negative, is a place to start. Personally, I think that things are a little upside down right now with students being in the driver's seat and telling teachers in some cases what they will and will not do. If we want to see increased learning outcomes, we need to restore authority and respect and hold students accountable for their actions and their learning, not blaming others, but being responsible for their own behavior. Excusing negative behaviors, rescuing students from embarrassment, allowing students to be violent, creating helplessness, or fostering a culture of disrespect are all detriments. So my third immediate goal would be to increase student learning.
Great, thank you. Number 2 is share how you'll contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience so that we're able to collectively provide strong governance.
Okay, first of all, I have no board experience, so I'll toss that out the window right now. But in the document BG7, it states that the board will govern with an emphasis on end results for students. So I would hope that I would always bring the conversation back to, is this educationally beneficial? Or maybe to challenge, what is the educational benefit? It seems like the school board is more of a sounding board, an entity that listens to parents and students and community members and makes suggestions and recommendations to the superintendent. So listening with the goal of understanding the intent of the speaker would be my objective. I want to hear what the concerns are so that we can make decisions that would emphasize student results. From my experience in the classroom, 45 years off and on of educational service, I have some strong opinions and some insights, but my goal would be to listen first. But if I did share, I would hope that I would also be listened to. I want to be available to value others' opinions, but always governing with the emphasis on the end results for students. And that's got to be the priority.
Thank you. Number 3 is using available data. How would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education?
So going back to my second immediate goal, that of equity, does the available data support reallocating funds? I guess I'm always a little leery of data. Is it skewed? Is it accurate? I've been in schools where students were well managed and lots of good learning was going on and not a lot of referrals needed to be written. But I've also been in schools where we were discouraged to even write referrals so it wouldn't reflect poorly on the school. Do teachers feel free to report incidences of unsafe behavior? Do they feel supported if they write referrals? And if schools accurately collect and report the data, not only on test scores, but on other issues, then we would have a more accurate idea of what's really going on. And if that would mean to reallocate funds to address and support the needs that are out there, then man, let's do it. If policy can be rewritten and funds reallocated so more students can be successful in a safe environment, then let's do it. But I don't think that students' needs need to be swept under the rug, or else they'll never be met. So if there is a need out there academically or behaviorally or with safety, let's keep track of accurate data and rewrite policy or reallocate funds when needed.
Thank you. How will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help our children have a thriving life trajectory?
Oh, that's an excellent question. In our nation's current culture with a lot of mistrust and misinformation, it seems like a safe and civil atmosphere is almost quixotic or utopian. But before assuming that only negative things are happening and only negative discourse would take place, I would like to get back out into the schools and visit and listen, ask questions of students and staff, ask questions of parents, and listen to responses. We all come with our own life experiences, our own lenses, our own perspectives. I grew up really poor, 2 blocks from Grant Elementary School, youngest of 7 kids. But in our family, we were expected to work in the berry and bean fields. We earned our own money for school supplies. We ate lots of bread and pasta. And, you know, we shared 1 bike for 5 kids. But our family culture was work hard because nothing's going to be given to you. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that my perspective and that shaped my outlook was different from others who maybe came from the same background but didn't have the same family structure. But I always believed that poor families could be successful. So I worked hard to that entity. That's not everybody. So as an adult, learning that I need to learn to engage with others, listen to their intent, listen with compassion and not judgment, and seek to be a part of the solution that increases learning outcomes. And if we can agree on those things, I think that we can have a good conversation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your interest, Sue, in this position.
Yes.
It's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, I think we have Julianne Jackson. Julianne, can you hear us?
I can.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I am going to turn it over. I'm forgetting what order. I think I'm now turning it over to Maria, host Pressy, to do the questions for your interview.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Julianne.
Hey.
So first question, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish?
Yeah, so just from reviewing all of the goals and also, being a participant in the meetings over the last few years, I think the first would be reviewing benchmarks and policies and making a plan to address the academic, emotional, and social effects of COVID in a realistic and collaborative way. I think the second would be staffing and attracting diverse candidates that reflect our student population. And that includes the position for a new superintendent as well. We want to make sure these folks have a focus and a commitment to equity and inclusion that we've committed to, and that we're really focused on getting the right people in the door and making sure that they're wanting to stay with us for the long haul. So teacher satisfaction is huge for me as well. Again, focusing on equity and anti-racism. The third thing would be rooting a plan in data and reality, and creating a safety plan that is built, that offers built-in protections from bias and promotes real safety that helps Salem-Keizer close the school. If I could talk, I'd be dangerous today, y'all. That helps Salem-Keizer close the school to prison pipeline. So those are my top 3.
Thank you. Next question is, share how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience so we are able to provide strong governance.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a community leader for quite some time. I run a nonprofit here locally called Black Joy Oregon, which focuses on providing women of color with leading opportunities. I also am currently the director of movement building for Partnership for Safety and Justice. I've worked with our unions locally for quite some time, since about 2010. So I have board experience. I deal with my own board. I deal with the board and pretty much every aspect of work that I do. And I already have these ties to the communities. So I'm already having these conversations. I'm already sitting at these tables. I'm already listening to these concerns. And I will bring all of that further. I'm an alumni of Salem-Keizer. I'm a parent in Salem-Keizer. I was a student in Salem-Keizer who was a homeless student, a student who was justice involved. So, I definitely bring a lot of that to the table, and I'm not that far removed. So I remember exactly what it feels like. I listen to my kids all the time. I get community reports about what's going on in schools all of the time. And I think that I would bring all of that expertise to the table.
Thank you. Using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I like that Salem-Keizer has been focusing on data recently. I think that part of what we need to do is look at the data and see if we're asking the right questions and if we have the right data. Also, a lot of our policies and procedures we have actually adopted from elsewhere, and we haven't really taken a look at whether that data is actually relevant to our population. And so some of those things I think we need to kind of go back and take a look at. But I use data regularly. In my job, we actually do legislation, and we use data to drive that. And so I'm very good at looking at those numbers and figuring out what it means and reading between the lines. And so, I mean, I think we just have to look at data realistically. And I think part of the issue that Salem-Keizer has had is we have been real in our feelings the last couple of years and not in our data. And I think that that's a really helpful solution also to aid in collaboration. Data doesn't lie.
Thank you. And the last question is, how will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory?
Yeah, again, I'm already doing that. I'm already sitting at these tables with folks. I'm already hosting community meetings with parents to figure out what their needs are for children of color specifically. We're already kind of creating different learning opportunities for our kiddos that we're not getting access to within Salem-Keizer School District. So when we haven't been able to get what we need from the board or from Salem-Keizer, we've done it ourselves. So we are, I'm already having these conversations with a lot of folks. I already have these tentacles out. I have access to a lot of community members. I have access to a lot of community groups. And so I think it's real easy. You shut up, you listen, you figure out what it is that folks need, and then you move forward.
Thank you so much. That was the last question. So we appreciate your time. And great to meet you via Zoom.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for being here. All right, next up we have our first video submission, and the applicant is Thais Brando Rodick. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
So this is, my name is Thais. Board of Directors for the Zone 6, which is Keizer. It's a vacant position currently. And here are the answers.
We're having just a few technical difficulties, it seems.
Do we need to take a quick recess to sort it out? Or do you just let me know what you want to do?
Yeah, I'm not sure who out of the comms department's on the media. There we go. How about we just take 5 minutes, just since we've been on for almost 90 now. Oh.
Yeah, I think taking 5 minutes would be a good idea, and then it'll give it a bit of time to sort out what's going on with sharing the screen. Yeah, okay.
Hi there, this is Jackie, one of the sign language interpreters. We're scheduled till 1:30. I can stay a few minutes
So this is, my name is Thais Rodick. This is my application for the Salem-Keizer Board of Directors for the Zone 6, which is Keizer. It's a vacant position currently. And here are the answers to my questions. They were provided to me ahead of time. So question 1, given what you know about Salem-Keizer, what are the 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish? And I believe the first one is to focus on fixing the issues created by the pandemic. Students who are struggling to keep up academically before COVID are even more so at a disadvantage now that we've returned to in-person learnings, and the losses that happened during the pandemic really need to be addressed and elevated in the sense that our students can catch up. I've personally been impacted by that and can attest that there's a big gap, and I think our students need to be given the attention they need to bridge that gap and to work on the losses that happened during COVID. The second one is, I believe, we really need to engage with the community in a conscious way. And I don't believe that has been the case. I don't believe that parents have had a voice over, materials, and collaboration does not seem to be happening to the degree that it should. Our schools are, and they should be, community centers. They are building blocks of our community, and they should be open to the communities they serve. And I don't believe that the schools are engaging with the communities that surround them as much as they could, or utilizing the resources as well as they could. And the third one, after looking at the report card, the most recent one from ODE and Salem-Keizer, really is to bridge that high school graduation gap. Our district is behind in every measure in the latest ODE report card, both on the on track to graduate on 9th grade and on time graduation. Now, those are small percentages, but they're still lagging in what should be statewide according to ODE standards. Question number 2, share how you will contribute as a member of the board, including detailing your leadership or board experience, so we're able to provide strong governance. I'm familiar with the school system from a funding perspective, and that comes from my day job. I do have some board experience. I've served on 2 boards. I've served on the Outdoor School Advisory Committee when Outdoor School was being launched by OSU Extension Program. And I also served on the Luke Center for Catalytic Leadership Board for 3 years as communications chair first, and then as secretary for the last 2 years. So I served from 2018 to 2021. And currently I am the vice chair of the Parents Teachers Club at Valley Inquiry Charter School, which is where both of my kids attend school. I think providing a unique perspective, the fact that I am a parent of kids in a charter school can bring some unique viewpoints to the board, and some of the issues and challenges I see, and also some of the opportunities I see coming from a smaller, more close-knit school. Question number 3, using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education? For all of those folks who know me and work with me, know that I'm a big believer that we can't create anything without the input of all those involved and impacted by the decisions that we make. I'm a big believer of nothing about us without us. So I would involve all those who are most currently negatively impacted by the policies that we would be reviewing and gather their input. Currently, from looking at the data, we have a big population of Latinx students in our community. And I'll start there. I'll start asking their families and the community about how we can improve the outcomes for the students and what they see that is currently not working for them, and how we can improve those policies. But it's really important that we do it in a culturally relevant way. I've experienced that being a working parent, and you don't hold meetings at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. on a school day when parents are working and can take time off work. And I think just working around, parents want to be involved. So working around and with parents' schedules, I think is really important, so that you can give everyone a voice, especially when there are policies that are impacting our students. I would also assess to see who benefits from the policy and who is potentially negatively impacted by it. I don't think that we typically look at issues around on a 360 around all the different ways. So I think that would be really, really important when addressing policy changes. Sorry for that interruption. Question number 4. How will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of our community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory? So that's a big question. And I would start small. I'll start first by asking for input and working with the parent-teacher clubs from all and staff from all the Keizer schools. I would ask them really what's going on to understand the issues happening at each of the schools and how they're different, and also maybe if they have some of the similar challenges, how they were able to successfully overcome them and come up with creative solutions and implement and share those. I would attend most or some PTC or look at the at least look at board meeting minutes to understand what's going on and what challenges are happening in those particular schools, and see if we can brainstorm on some solutions before I bring them to the board. I think, elevating voices that are not being consulted right now is really, really important. My daughter has been at Valley Inquiry. Now she's in 4th grade. She's been obviously there since kindergarten, so 5 years. And I don't think I've ever encountered or interacted with someone from Salem-Keizer School Board or the school district. So again, we're kind of this small school, charter school, but I think every student matter and all input is valued. And I can speak from my experience that we haven't been engaged with. We haven't been asked for input or opinions or collaborations. So I think really reaching out to the community and tapping into listening to what's happening is really, really important, and that would be how I would address it, and also make myself available for input whenever possible. So those are my answers. I hope I stayed within the 10-minute. I will see when I press pause. Thank you so much for the time today.
Great, thank you. And our final applicant is Ross Seisemer. And so we have another video from Ross.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Perry, Chair Carson Cottingham, Directors Karina Guzman Ortiz, Osvaldo Avila, Maria Hinojos Presi, Dr. Sadia Chandagiri, and Marty Hayden. Thank you for the opportunity to interview for the open seat for the McNary School Board Director position. So let's get right to it. Given what I know about the Salem-Keizer District, what are 3 immediate goals the board needs to accomplish? My first thought is we need to focus on the fundamentals for our students, help them catch up from the knowledge they lost while they were away from school during the pandemic. Realize that over half of the students cannot read or write at grade level. That's concerning. Since 2014, there has been a 16% decline in math scores and a 35% decline in science scores. That is also very concerning. We need to provide students with the opportunity to show what they can do. Provide them with a standard to achieve. Because if you don't, when you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. We need to give them a standard that they can reach for. Amp up the academics. Don't dumb down our kids. Let's give them something to reach for. We need to provide safe schools for our students. When students feel safe and are provided structure, they're going to be more focused on their schooling. It's just a simple fact. Thirdly, the school board needs to present a united front. The school board is supposed to be the face of the school district. We're all adults. We need to learn to listen to each other, not be critical of each other. You can be critical of ideas and concepts, but let's not be critical of each other and of other people. It doesn't help resolve any type of situation. Number 2, share how you will contribute as a member of the school board, including detailing your leadership or board experience, so we're able to provide strong governance. A few years back, I took the Clifton Strengths Survey to get a better understanding of myself, how I lead, and how I would better be able to contribute where I'm planted. My top 5 strengths were these. Harmony. I tend to look for areas of agreement. I know there are differing views on this school board, but I would like to try to find common ground for the benefit of our students. Responsibility. I do my best to take ownership of my commitments. If you decide to appoint me to this position, to this seat, know that I can be counted on to follow through. Adaptability. I am pretty flexible when there are competing demands to my time and my work. I can adapt to different situations fairly quickly, and that's evidenced through my time working in child welfare, where many different things took place, different situations, as well as being a campus monitor, having to deal with many different needs from the students and the staff. Connectedness. I tried to build immediate rapport with other individuals to connect at some level. It's just the starting point to find common ground. And the last one is restorative. I like to find answers to problems, to find a way to fix the issue, to make it better, to streamline it, if you will. Those things being said, every person on this board has different strengths, different styles of leadership. We can all work together to provide a school system that we can be proud of, knowing we are choosing to make a difference in the lives of the students who we are serving. And make no mistake, it is serving these students to push them to be their best in all they do, academically, athletically, and personally. We can have a district where parents are proud to send their children, where students graduate with marks that are above the national average, where colleges are clamoring for Salem-Keizer students because they know they're getting high quality individuals, where employers are looking for Salem-Keizer graduates because they know these men and women will work and produce at a high level. Number 3, using available data, how would you develop policy that mitigates biases and keeps the focus on our students' safety, well-being, and high-quality education? I'm really glad you asked this question. It's good to know you realize there are biases within our school district. How to alleviate these biases is another question altogether. How does one craft a policy that mitigates biases? I don't think a policy can be written to lessen someone's bias. That seems akin to attempting to legislate morality. That will require someone being open to understanding their biases and their prejudice. It is subjective, and it's based on feelings, which are not reliable because emotions are fleeting. Data, on the other hand, is objective, and policy can be developed based on objective facts. We can look at the data regarding the academics in our district. We can see where students are failing, and we can see where students are doing well. If a student is failing, we can see what kind of help that student needs in order to help that individual make a passing grade. Steps can be taken to help these students based on objective, quantifiable results. You want students to graduate and thrive? Set objective standards. Set goals for them that are attainable, yet still difficult to reach. The student will have a sense of accomplishment due to reaching their goals, and that's going to help their well-being because they know they've accomplished something. When it comes to safety, there are objective facts about what needs to be done to keep our students safe. We can look at the list of offenses that have been committed by students. We can look at methods that have worked or not worked in the past regarding the safety of the students. Ultimately, students are going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to try to get away with whatever they can, especially if there's no consequences. If they don't have to worry about taking responsibility for their actions, they're going to do whatever they want. So policy can be developed around this. We need to provide structure for the students so that they realize there are consequences called cause and effect. There's natural consequences. If you do A, then B follows, and that can be dealt with. There should be no bias in holding students responsible for their actions. Life is full of choices and consequences, either positive or negative. I want students to perform at a high level academically. There are steps to take to help them with that. And those steps begin in kindergarten. I want to see students excited to learn. I want to see teachers excited to teach. I want to see this district become a place that is known for its academics. That can happen if the board and administration will take the necessary steps of crafting a plan that encourages high-level academics, to create a disciplinary plan that holds students accountable for their actions and isn't based on how students feel at the time of their actions, at the time of the negative action. A plan that doesn't let students off the hook, but helps them take responsibility for their actions. Give the students the tools, the structure based on data, and these young men and women will perform wonders. Be impressed at what they can accomplish. And number 4, how will you work to authentically engage all families and diverse sections of the community so that our communities can come together, as well as work with our educators and staff to help all our children have a thriving life trajectory? There's really only one answer to the question. The long answer is this. I talk with individuals all over the country on a daily basis. I don't generally know the depth of the initial reason for their call. I don't know their background, worldview, or anything about them. My goal is to treat them with respect simply because they're a human being. And it needs to be the same here. I will treat each and every person with respect they deserve simply because they are a human being. We may disagree on any number of issues, and that's okay. We are all individuals with different viewpoints and different worldviews. We can come together. We can work together because of the common goal of doing what is best for the students in our district. Parents want what is best for their children. Teachers want to see their students achieve great things. It starts at the top. Treat each person with respect. If the school board can live this out consistently and be an example to the rest of the district, we'll start off on the right foot. Thank you for your time.
Great. That concludes all of the interviews of the 10 candidates who've applied for the vacant board position for Zone 6. I want to thank all of the candidates for interviewing and being part of this process. As a reminder, the process will be that we will work towards appointing someone to the position on November 8th at our regular business meeting. And we plan to do that following the public comment period. It is now 1:49 p.m. and I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Take care.
For more videos and information, go to capitalcommunitymedia.org and follow us on social media.